Welcome back to Word Blindness. This is Juliet Hahn here with my co-host, Brent Sobel. How are you?
Do you want the real answer or just the fake answer?
No, I want the real answer. I'm asking really. Oh, you don't want to answer really?
Yeah, exactly.
But so you're in your new recording space, because before you used to look out the left side. When you used to look out, the window used to be over here.
Oh yeah, I used to have my back the other way. Oh, well, look at you, spatial awareness, eh? You must be dyslexic. Huh?
I was like, I know you're going the opposite way of than you used to go.
Wow.
I'm very observant, very observant. Okay. So we're in season 2, and what we wanted to do, and this is some of the stuff that we're going to be adding to the website. But as we said on the last episode, we have some stuff that are happening behind the scenes, and they're happening behind the scenes for a reason. We also touched on some days we're a little bit more giggly because that week has gone really well. Other times we're not as giggly. Because
it's retrograde and Mercury doing their thing up there, right?
Yes. Right. So this probably will go out during when retrograde is still happening. But yeah, there's a lot of shit storms happening. So today, though, one of the things that we want to talk about, because one of the things that we're going to provide for people really out there is that kind of toolkit. And we're not going to get into all of the specifics of the toolkit, because that's going to be, as we're working on it, there's going to be some, things that it's going to take us a little longer to do, a little shorter to do. Right now, the website has been updated. There's a tab right under resources that has like a checklist that people can go to that can see, okay, I'm thinking I'm dyslexic. I think someone is in my family dyslexic. It's a little checklist there. That's where these are all going to go. One of the things that we're going to be adding is really at the end of school, like what you need to do with your IEP, like some of the kind of, hey, parents, did you do this? Also, we, as this grows and we eventually get all this stuff, it's also going to be like, hey, teachers, did you do this at the end? Because that's also helpful for them. Hey, students, because some of the older students, right, that can do this themselves, it's giving them kind of the empowerment of, hey, let's check that checklist. So you'll be able to print it. These are all things that I wish I had. I wish I had every year, forever. I mean, for the last 18 years, I wish it's things that we had. So it's all of our experience that we actually have gone through. One of the things that you talk about all the time is, if you really haven't experienced it, how can you help? You talk about the therapist, okay, you're going to help me because you read it in a book. Yeah. One of the things that's beautiful about what we're doing is that we have gone through so many different scenarios, you helping so many people on such a broad level, you going through the experience yourself, you going through experience with your child, myself, and the people that we have throughout that, that are not even on this podcast, but are the kind of the boots on the streets that we have helping us, that have gone through their own stuff, or in education, maybe have seen it. So there's like a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes. But one of the things that we're going to do, I'm going to let you talk now. Go, because I talked for 3 minutes straight there.
And I was just going to say that there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, but you were just talking about toolkits and resources. There's a lot of information that goes into your child's advocating, and you came across the desk today. Having again, I always have to remember, your kid best. That teacher, that guidance counselor, whoever that doesn't know your kid. So you need to have, you're always armed with all that information that we're going to talk about here.
Mm-hmm. Because one of the things at the end of school, especially if you're a child, again, this is why so much needs to go into this, because every age, it's going to be different for your child, right? So, right now, I know my children are they're starting, because we don't finish until the end of June. It's like torture, but it's like
New York. And a lot of Canada, Canada's the same way though. If you start after September long weekend, then you go to end. So I think here in Chicago, Chicago Public Schools is that way, but everybody else is, we're done at, end of May, because we started, mid.
You're right. So there's a lot of testing. Some write the finals. If your kids are older, all these different things. If your kid's littler, there's just really kind of getting them prepared to finish, but then also having everything kind of together. So at the end of the summer, when school starts, you're not scrambling, which I did. every year.
That's and I just had this conversation yesterday. With a dad. I said, "This is going to be your every single year." I'm not trying to scare you. I don't want I'm just telling you this is how it's going to be. And I told them create that binder, that hard binder. I said because you're going to need to walk into now again if you're changing schools and maybe you're going from elementary to middle. Are you in the same district? But it's two different buildings, so you always have to have the mentality that it's not transferring over. And he was kind of just looking at me, and staring. I said, just always keep this stuff in here. It's great. Obviously we're going digital, emails, links. But when it comes to your kid, when you're emailing a teacher, you're like, Montgomery, email the teacher, they didn't read it. It's a couple weeks in. They're not going to. And click and open up a 20-page clicks. No, look at us. So it's, yes, is it old school with that, hard binder? Yeah. But as a parent, and to be able to have that right there, know where it is, rather than having it in your email, because in your email is out of sight, out of mind. You're kind of burying your trauma. Not saying you can't use that, but you've got to be able to know where that is, and you're always going to be adding things to that because your kid's always growing and changing. And don't stuff it in the corner like we did. Know where it is, because that is going to be a very important piece to your kid's roadmap.
Yep. And coming up on the end, a couple of the things that we suggest that I'll be frank, I did not do these. I was always playing catch up until we started kind of, all the stuff that you have created, and I kind of fell into it, and I'm like, oh God, I wish I did. Yeah. I wish I did that. I wish I did this.
We didn't do anything, so we're trying to tell you the opposite. What to do.
Exactly.
We were what we were, and correct me if I'm wrong, we were parents not having the information, running with their head cut off with no support. All those emotions that we talk about, that was us.
And learning as we're going, but behind. So always kind of a step behind. And so then we're like, oh, okay, now we can do this the next year. So we always were learning and then implementing as we were going. But if we had it and we were kind of like the step ahead, it's like you could breathe because you're organized, right? When you're always chasing your tail, it's like when I say with the little straw that's the little tip is just out of the water and you're just getting a little bit of breath. So you're just above water. We want you guys to be all above water. So you're empowered. So you can go in and be like, this is how it needs to go because you have this knowledge.
And it's emotional. Every single year, you're always going to want to be, why? It is emotional. So it's, and then you go down the rabbit hole and it can take you so many different places. So that's why, right now it's have all that information together, gather that. If you haven't gathered it now, tests come, finals comes, summer comes, and it's, we all know the chaos that comes in there. And then something listed like this, if you have more than one kid, it gets buried because of trauma. Like, I don't want to face it. I don't want to deal with it. Right. Because you're facing it. So it's, and then who's it suffer? Then you're just chasing it. So it's, just trying to, keep you a step ahead of not going down a rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. So a couple things that we suggest is you, as Brent said, you get that folder, you get that binder, you get that all together, everything that's kind of gone through this year. So all the things that you've been emailed, all that printed out, you can, if you're someone that's like, I don't want a binder or whatever, but you're like the idea of organization. There's also those file folders, like you could go to Staples or Home. I don't think Home Depot. I don't think Home Depot has them. Whatever. I think it's a staple thing. You never know, right? But it's like literally where you have the files that go in, but it's not a file cabinet. It's like a file box, but you can keep a binder in there as well. So you can have that file thing. You can also have a binder. So then, each year you have it organized. I actually did do that. I stopped using it at some point, but I did collect that at one point and it moved wherever I moved. Like when we moved places, I was like, oh, I still have the binder. Oh, like stopped at a certain grade. And it probably was because we moved, but having that and then really going, and correct me if I'm wrong, but going through it and being like, okay, what has worked the accommodations for my child this year, and what do I want to see that probably needs to be changed?
Yeah, 100%. And again, there's no right or wrong. It works for whatever individual. Just remember that if you have say 15 pieces of paper, right? You go and email 15, an email to the new teacher next year with 15 links. They're not going to open it up. Now, if you go there with them and sit down with them and you have your binder old school and reading it, through it with them, it's getting done that way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's what worked, what didn't. Maybe they're getting a little bit older that they don't need this. They're feeling comfortable with that or not. It's while it's fresh in your mind, make that checklist, that what works and what's not working, so that you're not sitting there in August with chaos, school shopping, all this, and then oh, did it work? Did it not work? Then you don't think about it, and then
forget it. Yeah,
you forget about it. So it's is it a pain? Yes, absolutely. But it's a pain in the ass that'll save you a lot of heartache. If you can do it, there might be nothing to add. Maybe it's status quo. Okay, no problem. It's just, it's all trauma based. And once you get overwhelmed and doing this again, and you're not prepared, and then it just ends up falling back, on your kid, because then they know you're stressed, and and it just goes from there.
Yeah. And again, it's just going to, as Brent said, it's really important to do it at the end of the year because it's fresh in your mind. Mm-hmm. If your child's older, you can, as he said, talk about, hey, let's get it. Now you might be like, I have a right behind me and in some other places, I have the envelopes that came in the mail because we get emailed and then we also get the envelopes. We also now have ones that there's like a database. So throughout this year, they've changed how they have given us the accommodate their IEP because every couple, I forget every when it is and how many times a year that they have to send us. I believe it's like 4 times. So every quarter I get an updated, like here we are. And this, this is where Montgomery is. This is where he was last semester. So I have all of that. But one of the things that is really, if you're like, I don't remember what's the newest one, like I have to bring it to his college, right? So I'm like, I'm going to email them now and say, hey, can you send me the latest IEP? So I have it when I go to orientation for college. And I know instead of going through all my folders and being like, oh wait, was that the new ones? Because I know we took some stuff off. I know we changed some stuff this year because again, he was able to take a lot of stuff off. Over the years, there's been times where he's said, can we just take this off? Because he and I have talked openly about it. There was some stuff that I was like, no, you can't take that off. You're doing that because you don't feel like dealing. Yes. Okay. That you can take off, right? That talk to teachers. They're like, that's so annoying. And I'm like, I get it. You don't need it anymore. So when a kid is younger, you might not want it to dive too much in because they're going to be like, especially if they want to be under the radar
for them. Obviously Montgomery's a senior, so you can have that, and have a conversation, and you know when he's full of shit and call him out on it.
Totally, exactly. So, but just having it where it is, as Brent said, you want it right there because you want it at the end. You want to put it aside so when then school starts, because again, a lot of the teachers, not their own fault. They're bogged down. They have, summer break. They're taking it. They go back. They don't read it right away. And it depends on the teacher, but time and time again, last 5 years, it's been 2 weeks where they don't read it. And that your kid is literally flailing like, you try to get that meeting before. I mean, I've done this. It depends on your district. Yeah. I've, emailed and be like, can we put something in the calendar for the first week of school or like 2 days before? Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it has. Can we do a Zoom? There's so many different ways, but you want to get in front of that teacher, as Brent said, with that written stuff.
It just because remember, how overwhelming it was for you as a parent when you first saw that. That teacher's saying the same thing because that's not they don't know this. It's not their, bread and butter. It's not their, so like, whoa, right? So, trying to take that effect out of it. And obviously I say, make a punch list or, bulletin list of that IEP, what your kid needs. Because remember, that teacher doesn't have it, isn't a special ed, doesn't none of that. So if I know if I'm that teacher, if I'm putting myself in those shoes, I open, obviously chaos, all the new kids and depending what grade, what's going on. You open up an email and like, I don't have time for that now, right? And you're off to the next thing. So that's why it's I say again, get in front of them, have that conversation, reading it. Obviously, there's no feelings in words. As a parent, you're talking there. If you're sitting down with that teacher, maybe your son and daughter are with you, maybe not. They're gonna hear it in your voice rather than words. And that may help connect with the teacher for your child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the other thing is, as you said, the teacher's overwhelmed, but a lot of states, you also can't say what the learning disability is, right? It just says specific learning disability. Yeah. Now, imagine being a teacher. Now, again, this is all different. So imagine you're a fourth grade teacher and it's specific learning disability and you have 6 of them. And all of those kids have different learning. I mean, how unfair for these teachers? How unfair for these teachers to be able to be like, okay, Johnny has this. They don't even know them, right? They're just reading what they have. Maybe they're doing it a couple days before because they have some time. And then all the kids come in and it's like, wait, okay, Johnny's specific learning disability. If you're able to talk to them and sit with them, you're able to say, he's dyslexic. And then the teacher could have more understanding. They could do a little research depending on, what all these different things is. It just gives them a little bit more help.
Every kid's different, right? So even to do that research, I don't even think is a good idea because may not apply. What those words are may not apply to your son or daughter. So tell that, all right, my daughter's, dyslexic. This helps her X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
This does, so it's that interaction, that understanding. Now she understands it. She's heard it. You're not going to get that from, trying to search and Google.
Yeah, you're right. What it is. But it's giving the teacher a little bit of, seeing, okay, I can work with you. A lot of times parents that we've come across don't want to overstep, right? They're like, well, I don't want to be like that mom. I don't want to be annoying. I don't want to piss the teacher off before school starts. But a lot of times if you do it and you're not an annoying person, right? You do it out of like the kindness, like you're doing it to set everything up. You're not going in as like, well, this needs to be demanding. Go in at first. Hey, I just want you to be armed with what's happening. I'm trying to be as organized, to be on top of it. So you have the most information that you can to be the best teacher for my kid. Here are the different things. And that's really what we're saying.
Yeah, no, it's, the helicopter mom's one thing, but it's, again, remember that, if it's a 4th grade teacher, 5th grade, they're not special ed. They were never trained. They don't have the understanding of it. So if you don't come in there and you think of it as you're training that teacher how to teach your kid.
Right. Yep. So that's what you want to do at the, that's whatever, 2 months before school, a month before school, before you're feeling like you're catching your tail, you want to have that done. And that's just, again, through all of our experiences, all the things that we have done, it's a really important kind of thing. We're doing, again, in season 2, we're going to do a couple snippet episodes so you guys can listen to them quick, be like, okay, I got it. We don't need to get into deep parts of it. Other parts of season 2, they're going to be a little bit more. We're still bringing you some of those, interviews and all of that. Anything else, Brent, you think that anyone needs to be armed with before kind of ending school to kind of help their kid, help the teacher?
Again, I'll always just remember that that teacher isn't trained in whatever, your son or daughter has. They're not trained in that. So you have to train them.
Yep. And that's, it's sometimes hard for people to hear, like, what do you mean they're not trained? And this is where education needs to change, because we have talked to so many teachers. Yes, there's some teachers that have a reading, they're reading specialist, but there might not be your regular gen ed teacher. They might not be your kid's special ed teacher. These are, there's how many learning disabilities that they're getting top lined with in college. And it's like, okay, I have some understanding, but there's a lot of non-understanding because it's foreign. It's foreign.
And, we talk about this all the time. If you don't have, ADHD or dysgraphia or dyslexia, and you're not armed with some information, you're going to look at, those son or daughters as they do right now. That's where the kid, it's always said, the kid's not listening because he's ADHD. No, he's not listening. He is listening. They just don't know why. So if you can inform the teacher with information early, so there's some understanding. All right, now that's going to probably make your son or daughter's year better, which in turn makes your week better, and it's just a whole lot smoother.
Yes. All right, 20 minutes. Look at us. Thank you for joining another episode of Word Blindness. I'm going to say it. Don't forget to like, rate, review, and share, because you do not know who right now is coming up on the end of school and is like, running. The end of school is so hard. I mean, every end of school, I always forget. It's like the beginning of school where all of a sudden I'm like, why are all these emotions? Why am I so crazy? And then I'm like, oh, because especially in the young, right. That is true too. But especially at the end of the year for younger grades, all of the class things that you have to do, it's like freaking torture.
All the pictures and the paintings and the cotton balls.
Yeah, all the things that they ask parents to do, and you're supposed to be signing up in this lunch and this this game day, this thing, this, put your kid in this costume, whatever it is. At the end of the day, end of the year, get ahead of it. And you don't know who right now needs to listen to this, because they're coming up on that time, that month where it's like, why am I so crazy this month? And again, this is what we're going to be doing, giving you guys some of these tools to be able to help you. And top line, there's other times that we might get some experts that can give you really deep and diving, but right now we know what you need, because we have both been through it and we know what we needed, and we have the experience behind it. So thank you again for joining Word Blindness, Dyslexia Exposed.